I just wanted to let you know we'll be announcing the Seller Poll Awards real soon. This will be an annual awards for Amazon and private label sellers around the world. The rules of engagement are, to make this a level playing field, Seller Sessions, myself and Databrill are excluded for being nominated and winning awards. Equally, any consultant, software company or service provider caught begging for votes to create an unfair advantage will be removed and added to the Hall of Shame. The Hall of Shame will be announced along with the other nominations and winners. Visit sellersessions.com/sellerpoll and register your interest. Your community needs you, so make sure your vote counts. Let's get into the show. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today we go in depth. In depth is where we go back in time and take a look at what built the person, their trials and tribulations, heartbreak, joy, and what makes them tick as an entrepreneur. Each person gets their own dedicated intro as we celebrate some of their contributions to our community and look at some of the landmarks throughout their career. 4 years ago, he was coding with socks on his hands to keep warm. He founded Viral Launch at the ripe old age of 21 and has grown it from a small startup to over 60 employees. He has done over 45,000 launches. He has helped sellers generate over 7 billion in sales on Amazon. He has won countless awards. He is one of the youngest, brightest minds in our community. And like his podcast, he likes to follow the data. So raise a glass, raise your hands, raise the roof, put your headphones on, put your phone away. Let the family know you'll be back soon as we go in depth with Casey Gauss. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. That intro is super awesome. Thanks, Danny.
No worries. As you know, here we get straight into it, but we need to take it back. So talk to me about what your parents installed in you as a kid. It's a little interesting. So I think they installed some good things, but maybe more than that, they also instilled some bad things to stay away from. You know, my dad is a super hard worker, and I think that I really got my work ethic from my dad. From my mom, I got that you need to believe in yourself, and, you know, she really believed in me, which I think helped push me forward. But I also learned, you know, some of my family just isn't the nicest to other people. And that really sucked. And I think that made me, you know, want to help other people so much and really care about other people. And then lastly, we grew up without much money on my mom's side. And, you know, I think that again helps me to understand, like, you could be a normal person. You're going to go through some bad things. We all could be making a couple bad decisions that lead you in some really bad places. And I guess to have some empathy for people. Yeah, that makes total sense. So take me back to your earliest entrepreneurial memory or first job, if you like. Yeah. So I don't think I'm the typical like hustle entrepreneur. Like, you know, Leron's on here talking about selling stuff as a kid. That wasn't me. I always had ideas for invention. So I always wanted to come up with cool inventions. And it wasn't until college that some entrepreneur spoke in my class and really kind of opened my eyes to entrepreneurship. So as an entrepreneur, I'm kind of a late bloomer, I guess. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And in terms of, I know you dropped out of college, so I always like to ask this question. Was school important, or would you say it's a waste of time, or somewhere in between? It was both. I think that I absolutely had to go to school in order to kind of mature. I did learn some things about myself, and it pushed me to be a better version of myself. But, you know, it wasn't important enough to keep me around, I guess. Yeah. So if we look at someone like Steve Jobs, I'm not trying to put you in that realm, but you know, they're the typical route you've seen where people young, gifted, they're coming through. You've got Mark Zuckerberg. There are a lot of people who drop out of college. Now, you can't just use that as an excuse to say, don't worry, if I drop out of college, I'm going to be the next Steve Jobs. But in terms of what you've achieved in your age, in our community, you've done exceptionally well. You've worked hard. You've created like wealth in the industry, haven't you? Like you're an employee of 60 employees. You've helped create wealth for other companies through problem solving and through invention, through the services and the tools that you provide. Yeah, absolutely. So talk to me about what has been your most meaningful job that you enjoyed as you was coming up.
Honestly, I've only had one other job, and that was working at McDonald's in high school.
And I know there's a lot of jokes about working at McDonald's, but I did learn quite a bit. You know, it's a very fast-paced environment, and it's harder than you think. And I don't know, it taught me a good amount about just like taking pride in working quickly. And also working at McDonald's was a lot of fun. All my friends worked there. My mom was a manager there. So I look back on working at McDonald's very fondly.
But do you also find with McDonald's, it's the machine, that kind of repetition,
Exactly.
that automation that they've got running in the background. If you were to walk in there with your eyes open and you observe the landscape of how they get everything across the path, still heated up, it's incredible. I mean, I don't particularly enjoy the food out there, but you see where I'm coming from in terms of a machine. It's like a Henry Ford, but for food, isn't it? You know?
And specialization, like, you know, you don't have the same person that's making the sandwich, making the fries, taking the order, and then handing it out to the customer. So
yeah. So tell me a little bit something about you that no one else knows.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I really like to play the drums. I played the drums in college. We had kind of church sessions or whatever. So I really enjoy playing the drums, I guess.
Cool. In terms of books, name a business book that's influenced your life.
Yeah, the number one business book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. You're going to be dealing with people, whether you're selling to those people or whether you're building a team. And honestly, I think if you interact with people, you should read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It really helps us shift your mindset from thinking about here's what I want to here's how I can help this other person get what they want, as well as, you know, create a win-win scenario. And I was incredibly inspired by that book.
It's a great book. And the thing is, it's not about manipulation. It costs you nothing to be kind to people, does it? So
Exactly.
if that's part of your makeup, where you're trying to be the best you can be and kind to everyone every day, you're going to get liberty takers. But on the whole, you move so much easier in the slipstream of life with that kind of output, you know?
Well put.
So in terms of biggest influence in your life, doesn't have to be business. It could be family related, non-family, mentors. Who's been the biggest influence on you so far?
Yeah, you know, I would have to say probably my mom. Probably my mom. You know, we had a pretty rough growing up, and I think that I was scarred from a lot of those, you know, bad experiences. But it really gave me the grit to like push through the difficult times. When I'm coding with socks on my hands, you know, growing up, we had been through a bunch of difficult times, and I was okay not having much money. And I think that, like, you know, it's not exactly maybe what you would expect, but it had a profound impact on me.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I'm similar. I come from a poor background. Like my dad was a drunk. I don't see him. And it sounds like with you, you're trying to do the opposite of some family members. Do you see what I mean? So there's two routes to go. Like you can be just like your father, your mother or whatever, or you can try and be the polar opposite to what they are. You can take what they've done. And I'm not saying about your family member, but I know with my father, I'm everything. I'm part of him, but I'm everything. I'm not him. Do you see what I mean? Because I suppose the whole of my life, I've tried to escape the stigma of being like him. So I've done my best to be the opposite. But I do understand about having that influence, but not necessarily that influence doesn't always have to be in the room all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk to me about 3 of your most important habits that you have on a daily basis.
I would say number one is reading. I read a lot. Even when I'm just incredibly busy, I still take at least an hour a day to read. And in reading, I read everything from pop culture to the latest Business Insider, Harvard Business Review type articles. And I also read books, but I prefer reading articles. I feel like most books could be condensed into an article. So reading is number one. Recently, number two, as we've continued to grow, things have been pretty stressful. So I would say number two, I'll lump 2 things into there, but it's eating well and exercise. It's really helped to give me a lot more energy. I don't sleep that much. And so it's really helped me to stay focused and stay healthy, to give the energy to the team. And then number 3 is I really enjoy like talking with people. And so one habit, I guess, within the company that has helped me stay sane, but then also helped to build a great company is just interacting and focusing on other people.
So in terms of like your exercise regime and stuff, what kind of things are you into?
Yeah, so cardio. I used to not do cardio, and I was just lifting. So I ran track in college, and so I would think of myself as a rather, fit individual, I guess. But I used to pretty much only lift weights, and after college, and I've really gotten back into cardio, which has been really important for my overall health. I mean, there's a million articles about how cardio helps to improve lifespan, cognitive function, and so forth. So yeah, I lift 3 to 4 times a week, depending on how I would lift more if my schedule allowed. But 3 to 4 times a week, cardio every day. And yeah, also just working to build muscle because that makes me feel better about myself.
Cool. And in terms of food, like obviously they say 80% of it is diet. Are you doing keto or cyclic keto? Is there anything particularly you do, like you're gluten free or?
Yeah, so nothing. I'm not. This is an area that I could improve quite a bit more. But my wife has to stay away from gluten and dairy, so that really almost everything that she cooks, there's no gluten, there's no dairy, and I think that helps a lot. And so other than that, I just try to eat clean. I should probably be eating more. I'm not counting macros or anything. It's something that I aspire to. But like even outside of not following a specific diet, just eating clean, not eating gluten and not eating dairy has been a huge help for me.
Yeah, I mean, because you've got the gut-brain axis. I know exactly what you mean. I mean, we talk about it with Liran. I was in keto for about 2 years consistently, but like
Dang.
3 years overall. I can't get into keto no more because the offset of what I've been eating, it makes it very difficult for me to get into that form of state, into ketosis. But I loved it, that mental clarity and acuity that you get from it is just incredible. So I'm a big advocate as well. It's like, what you put into your body can make a massive difference. But, I don't mind, go out for a drink from time to time. But I think if we, like you're working 6-7 days a week, you're working 12 to 14 hours a day. With that in mind, if you're not going to get a huge amount of sleep, you need to be lifting or you need to be eating well in order to keep up that pace, don't you?
Absolutely. It's the only thing that I feel like keeps me going or allows me to keep going at certain points.
Cool. And tell me one thing that you believe in that goes against the grain for most people.
Ooh, okay. This is a good one. So, I mean, I'm a pretty religious guy, so I would say not everybody is religious. So that's an easy one. Maybe I don't have a great answer here. I think. This probably isn't super relevant to those that are listening, but I'm not a huge advocate of, like work-life balance. I think that, so this is part of like my like religious beliefs or whatever, but I feel like I was put on this earth to help people. And so I wasn't put on this earth to like enjoy my life as much as possible. Does that make sense? Like if I felt like I was put on this earth to just like enjoy my life and bring as much happiness to myself as possible, Vital Launch would not be where it's at because I've put in an insane amount of work. And sometimes it really hurts how much like you're pushing, how little sleep you're getting. And so, yeah, I kind of disagree with work-life balance. At least that's my perspective. And I give everything that I possibly have to help people.
Exactly. I think people got to realize, I agree with you. I don't think there is a work-life balance. There may be, if you decide what your life is about is, I want to take a job that just pays me money so I can live for the weekend, that creates that work-life balance. Yeah. But if you're trying to do something that's in your life that you really truly believe in, that has meaning, and you're shouldering a level of responsibility, then there isn't a work-life balance. You fit your life in around your work. You do have to rest. You do have to eat well. But we don't, as entrepreneurs, we don't clock off. Because if we clocked off, then most of the stuff that needs to get done won't get done. And for someone of a company of your size, that can have big repercussions. If you're tuning out at 5:30 every day and go, I'll see you back at 9 in the morning, and then there's fires that need being put out,
Yep, so exactly.
I totally agree with you. Talk to me about your biggest weakness.
Ooh. I would say that, I have a couple good ones.
Cool.
My biggest one is probably my brain like just does not understand like organization and structure. And I think at first in Viral Launch it was helpful because I was doing so many different things, juggling all these balls. But now at we have almost 70 people now. Like you really need some great structure, some great organization, holding people accountable. And my brain, it's crazy to me how my brain just doesn't work in that way. So what I've really tried to focus on is hiring a leadership team that is very organized, very structured, and very like organizationally focused. And it's helped a lot, but there's still like I'm still trying to balance out like sometimes I'll argue like, no, I don't think we should do this, and I'll find the reasons why we shouldn't have this kind of structure or something like that. And I'm really trying to work on it because your employees, there's a lot of employees that they're used to structure in their typical job. They want that structure here. And so I'm really trying to shift my mind, but that's a really big weakness, and it's caused a number of problems as we've scaled.
Yeah, but you got to look at the age group. You've not owned that many businesses. You've grown this from a startup to 60 plus.
Yeah,
that's normal. People go from 0 to 10, then 10 to 100 is different. Then the culture changes from 100 to 500, and then and that also goes on to the top line revenue as well. And you have management that comes in at all these different stages. But my question to you there is, this whole structure thing, I'm not a big fan of structure, if I'm honest. I need people I like to fire off ideas and be 100 miles an hour. But when it comes to plotting down the structure and sticking to those methods every single day, 7 days a week, religiously, it sends me to sleep. And so my question to you is, do you enjoy the structure, or are you happy to hand it off? So maybe that's why your brain don't work that way, is because you don't like it.
Yeah, So typically I don't like it. Over the last few months, so while I don't like it, I have a big appreciation for those that are very process oriented.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like there's people on the team, and I just ask them so many questions about how, were you born this way? Where did you learn it? Because I want to learn at least a bit about it. But I think that there's benefits to like, Danny, you probably wouldn't be where you were if you were like, everything needs to be on my checklist. I need to get number 1 done, then number 2, number 3, number 4. And so like, I think there's something good about entrepreneurs not being like so checklist focused, but then there's some downside. So I equal parts dislike it, but I'm starting to have more appreciation for it because I see how necessary it is for us where we're at.
Yeah. And in terms of, I like to call the question, your darkest hour just before dawn, the letting staff go, the missing mortgage payments, like these rough moments that you get.
Yeah.
I mean, can you elaborate? You've probably had a few over your time, especially with growing and where you were and coming from the background that you did. I'm sure you've got a number of them, and then eventually you get used to them. But pinpoint some highlights for me, if you don't mind. Yeah.
So one darkest moment would be right before we were able to pay ourselves from Viral Launch. So in between dropping out, I had moved back home. Then my mom was evicted, had her car repossessed, and my brother was getting into trouble. So we ended up moving out of our hometown off of money he's 2 years younger, off of money he had saved up delivering pizzas. And he was like, he was struggling to find a job in this new town. Basically, like money was just really scarce for us. And this is where, I was coding with socks on my hands because we couldn't afford heat. And I was doing like all kinds of weird stuff. Well, that sounds weird. I was doing different things to like make money, right? So like a friend of mine was in construction. I go work construction for a weekend to make $250. And so it was really tough. And, I had student loans kicking in. My bank account was at like $50. And finally we were able to pay ourselves. And I think I paid myself like $600 and I thought I was like rich. So like that was definitely one of them. There was another time about 2.5 years ago, I think it was, where we had overhired a bit and sales weren't growing like we thought they were. And, I can't remember how low the bank account got, but I think it was somewhere around like 20K, and payroll at the time is at least 150K a month. So like that was like really, really intimidating. It was right after we had paid taxes, and we didn't have to let anybody go, but it was like, and at the time, I think some people were saying giveaways are against terms of service. This comes up every few months. And so like less people were signing up for giveaways, which is their primary source of revenue. And I just was, so afraid that Amazon's getting rid of giveaways, so afraid that we're about to run out of money. And there's not a lot of tangible things that happened. It was more of a psychological thing for me, but it was really tough. And I think it was about 2 months later that we ended up coming out with market intelligence. And that's when things kind of really started taking off for us.
So with that in mind, what would you say has been your greatest comeback from adversity?
Yeah, so I would just say the situation in which I drop out of school. So many people judged me for that, and people that I really looked up to were talking bad about me and just kind of just left me out to rot, if you will. And it really sucked. And I would say that I'm not. So there's that. Even as I've grown Viral Launch over the last couple of years, or the first couple of years, so many people counted me out because I'm this young 20-something guy that wears a beanie every day. I'm not as formal as you would expect a CEO to be, maybe. And
can I just butt in here? That's how you should stay. Take no notice of what they say, the naysayers. Carry on doing you, honestly. And that's what makes you the difference from the others. You're always going to get people, like as you grow, you're established where you are, you're always going to get people that dislike you. What that means is you've done something right, because you've got people where you're starting to split opinions. But I definitely not take any of that stuff on board. You're in a new economy now. The whole thing of wearing the suits, getting on the tube and going to London and board meetings, that's all well and good. But did you get into this to do that? No.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what is Viral Launch about? It's about building prosperity for people. And so you want to be the everyday guy who can go out there and do your thing, and people can do the same. You haven't got to be shamed into wearing a suit and stuff. So I'd say stand your ground.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It's been tough sometimes, but it's working out, I guess.
So I butted in there. So carry on, as you're saying.
So I mean, just like essentially, I appreciate it, but essentially, just so many people counting you out, and from there to here, a week. This weekend, actually, in Indiana, I got the Rising Entrepreneur Award, and this was like the award doesn't actually mean that much, right? So it's not like I'm doing all this stuff for some awards, but I was given this award, Rising Entrepreneur in the state of Indiana, at the Oscars for tech here, the governor of the states here, local mayors, all these top executives, and so that was a kind of almost like this culminating, hey, we're accepting you now kind of thing, which was just really cool, and maybe more emotional than you'd expect, just because I feel like over the last 5 years, so many people have counted me out and just treated me poorly or whatever because of who I am or some of the decisions that I've made to drop out of school or what have you. And I finally got some recognition, if you will. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It gives you that warm satisfaction inside. And as you carry on growing, there'll be more naysayers. Oh, it won't last. You'll get here and you'll win that award, and they go, well, you won't win any more awards. But then that all comes part and parcel of the bubble that you're in at the moment. So what's the most common advice that you would give to people, even if it's just general advice?
Yeah, so it depends on where you're at. If you're younger, then I think that you should learn how to code. Because I think that you can build any idea. I mean, this is why I taught myself how to code. It's because I had all these ideas and I wasn't able to test them out. And so if you're younger, my suggestion is to learn how to code, because you can build anything that you imagine, essentially, if you know how to code. Number two is just read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Multipliers, so forth, because everything is about people. And, one thing that has helped us to grow the team, I think, is that, there are a lot of good, genuine people that care about other people. And to rally the troops around something like that makes it a lot easier to manage, but also really gives you a great sense of satisfaction in whatever you're doing. Find one, or essentially care about other people, and find other people that do. And work really hard, even when people count you out. I think that's kind of been part of my story. I feel like I've been an underdog no matter where I've been. And like, I've just always worked incredibly hard, and some good things have come from it.
Sounds good. And what advice would you say people should ignore, the general advice you hear out there?
So the work-life balance is one of them. Number two is that, like, you deserve stuff. I'm not someone that generally feels like I deserve things. And, I've had friends that were like, I worked hard this week, I put in my 40 hours. It was stressful. So like, I deserve, the nights off. I deserve the weekend. I deserve, this nice car, these nice shoes or whatever. And I think that so many people get trapped in this, like, I deserve mode. And it's a really big limiting factor to like going and being successful, I think, because you end up spending all your money on these things that you feel like you deserve. And I just don't agree with that. And then the third thing that I just really appreciate about entrepreneurs, and it's sometimes some things happen and it's just so mind-opening for me, is that so often do we think that things are the way they are. Like, I don't like that, I was born in this small town or whatever, like this town sucks, blah, blah, blah. I wish that I, lived in California or something. But like, the thing is that you can change that. You can go live in California if you want. If you don't like where you live, you can change that. If you don't like your job, you can change that. And like, the coolest thing about entrepreneurs, or one of the coolest things about entrepreneurs, is that they are the change makers. Like, if they don't like something, they change it. They come up with a solution and they actually act on it. And just not enough people realize that you can affect the change that you want to see in the world, whether that's not living where you are, or not being with the person that you want to be with. Like, there's so many different things that people complain about, and entrepreneurs don't complain; they go and solve.
Yeah, it's about, I suppose, a bit of self-courage there, isn't it? Like, you're fixing up your situation. So switching grooves a little bit, talk to me through your first product launch, your first customer product launch. And what year was it? It's like 2014, late 14, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't like a huge launch for us. It was like beta slowly turned into like real production, if you will. So I'm a huge fan of giving people, the team makes fun of me for this all the time, but I'm a huge fan. Like, I wish that I could give everything away because I want to help people. But obviously, like, you have to make money in order to build a business. But so what we did was we coded up an MVP. It was like a really basic MVP, and we just wanted to test the idea to see, okay, can we? It was drive keyword ranking at the time. Can we drive keyword ranking by giving coupons at a discount to Amazon buyers? So, anyways, we built an MVP. And we just knew a couple Amazon sellers, and so we offered them the service for free. And this was huge because, we weren't really well connected. My co-founder and I, we weren't really well connected, and so we gave this one guy, I think his name is Zach, a free giveaway. Worked super well for him. He got the results. And so he was willing to come back and actually pay for it. But not only that, but he went and told a couple of his friends, hey, Viral Launch is doing free giveaways. You should try it out. And so then they came, and basically your first launch was free so that you could see the value and that you would go tell your friends. And, we were profitable first month, and we, I don't know how much we made, but by, month 4 or 5, we were making 10K a month. And so it was all because we were so willing to give stuff away for free.
Yeah, that makes sense. So talk to me, early days, some of the, size of the team around that time. So obviously you coded the first basic MVP. How many of you there, and, what was the next stages around the business then?
Yeah, so it was my co-founder and I built. At first, I didn't know anything about Amazon. This is, I'm super grateful that my co-founder wanted to start the business with me because I didn't know anything about Amazon. I just knew how to code, and so and he knew that I, had tried to start a couple businesses prior to. But about 9 months in, we were making about $50K a month, and it was only me. My co-founder, he was gone for the summer, didn't have any internet, and so I was managing customer service on 2 different sites. I was building 2 different sites, managing, the giveaways and everything. So it started to become, really difficult. So I hired a customer service person, and then I hired someone to help me out on the operations side. So we had 3 people, probably paying, a total salary of like $60,000 a year, so not very much. And yeah, 2 people moved into an additional customer service person, which moved. So we had 2 customer service, 1 operations, and we stayed at that like 3-4 people for up until we were about $100K a month. And then we decided, hey, let's really build something cool here. At the time, I was afraid that Amazon was going to change their algorithm and no one was going to be able to, or we weren't going to be able to make any more money because giveaways didn't drive keyword ranking. But we ended up hiring another developer. We hired a photographer, someone to write Amazon listings, and we kind of really just scaled the company in.
So you were doing this off revenue before? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out. Did you go and raise out external investment on the business?
Yeah. No, we didn't. My co-founder put $700 in, and we just grew it profitably up until the summer of last year, actually. And it wasn't exactly for the money. It was for some other things. But we raised less than $1 million over the summer. So last summer. So we've almost done this all completely from revenue and just running profitably.
That's fantastic. So walk me through that after those stages. So you've got your developer on board, you've got a listing writer, photographer, you're now about 130K, per month. Where did you start to employ from there? Because obviously you're at 60. I want to get to how we got to 60 from there. So can we walk through the timeline a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Okay. So I didn't know how in-depth you wanted me to go.
Oh, no, I want to go. This is why it's called in-depth. This is your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very, that's fair. Okay. So we started offering listing optimization service and product photography simply because, we're able to get people ranking, but if you don't have the keywords in your title, for example, then you're not going to drive ranking or not nearly as well. So we started building out the listings and using the data from that. We started offering this at scale in summer of 2016. And then we also started offering product photography because, people are getting ranking, but they're not improving sales because they have a listing that's set up poorly to convert. So, and then revenue continued to grow. I think that's by the end of 2016, we're making just under 200K a month. And then in April of 2017. So yeah, how many people do we have by now? By the end of 2016, I think we had somewhere around 15 people, like 4 people doing, or probably like 5 people doing customer service. On the marketing side, we had 3 different people, graphic designer, and then 2 kind of like general people, like a writer. We had 4 people writing Amazon listings and 3 product photographers. And in terms of management, it was really just myself and my operations guy. In 2017 is where things really started to change. April of 2017, we launched Market Intelligence, which was kind of like our first entrance into real software.
SaaS.
Exactly, SaaS.
Yeah.
So at that time, we probably had, I think that we had just 2 developers. It was just 2 developers and myself. I was still writing code to help things out, and then launch Market Intelligence. Then another big milestone is in November of 2017, we launched Product Discovery, and that's when things like really took off. At that time, we had 4 developers. We had hired an HR person, so we were probably at like 25 people. And so we hired an HR manager. He was from Angie's List, and that was a really, really good hire. I would say that we probably hired our HR person early, but it really paid off.
Yeah, put the structure in place there, getting the right people on board.
Exactly. Because
can I just
go
get
ahead.
in with the user acquisition, right? So we launched Market Intelligence. How did you get that to market? Obviously, you dipped into your client base of doing the giveaways, etc.
Yeah.
So is that where you went to first before external advertising to grow it?
Yep. So our strategy. So my second weakness that I didn't talk about is marketing. I think more from the engineering, side. But anyways, essentially we had a pretty good sized customer list at the time. I don't know, 10, 20,000 or something, and of sellers. So it was a pretty good sized list, but we launched Market Intelligence for $10 because Jungle Scout was out. Like, so many people were using Jungle Scout. So I wanted to make it almost a no brainer. To switch over to the tool, or maybe have both. So we launched it at $10 a month. We just did a simple webinar to our existing customer base, and like that was pretty much it. I don't think we were running any Facebook ads at the time, but we had a lot of cool concepts in there. So a bunch of people were like, "Oh, come on the podcast," because Jungle Scout at the time was just looking at your current BSR and trying to estimate sales over the last 30 days, where we look at the trend in BSR over the last 30 days, for example. There was just a lot of cool stuff that we had in there that you couldn't see anywhere, or you hadn't thought of, for example. And so anyways, that really helped to spread things via word of mouth. So then next came product discovery. So right before product discovery, I think now we had 5 developers. Everybody's in Indiana. We have 2 people that are remote in northern Indiana. So anyways, basically everybody is in house at the time. Especially if you read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like, I just feel like I can manage a lot better in person, and I have a lot of energy. I get really excited and passionate about stuff, and I just think it's easier to manage and elicit that excitement in other people in person. We do have a couple remote people, but they're all in the US. So anyways, so now we launch product discovery. This one we did, like I said, we had about 25 people, probably 7 or 8 customer service people, 3 or 4 marketing people, product photographers, people that are writing Amazon listings. We also had hired a 4th manager. We had hired a director of product. She was director of product at Salesforce, had a lot of great experience, and we, thought it was a great fit. So we helped her because I was, trying to manage all 5 of these developers while also writing code, while also being a CEO. So we launched product discovery. We did a webinar. I don't remember what our email list was at the time, but what really helped us take off for product discovery was a lot of these Amazon courses, how to sell on Amazon. The biggest thing that they teach is product research, because they're really helping newbies get going. And, we just had a lot of really cool concepts in the product discovery tool, this product finder, that you couldn't get anywhere else again. And so, people just flocked to the tool, and things just really took off. Another thing that helped us out was we had really set up our pricing structure really, really well. So essentially what we decided to do was, you would pay more. So there's 4 different types of product research in there. You can search for products, you could search for keywords, you could search for brands, you could search for categories. Now, most people, basically all Jungle Scout was teaching was product search. I think that product search, you shouldn't do that. You should use keyword search. It's so much faster to find good product ideas. So people, really like that. And to make it so that you can find good product ideas in literally just a couple of minutes, we have this star rating. So, and the star rating is relatively accurate, and it really helps you to move very quickly in finding good product ideas. But what we didn't want people to do is come in, sign up for, the first month, and then just get all their, 1 million product ideas, and then get out. So basically what we did was we gated that star rating for the keywords with an annual subscription. So about 25%, I think it was 25% of our signups were annual. So people are paying, $500. 25% of our people are paying $500 or more to get access to the star rating. And that really, really helped us out. And then to get access to keyword search and brand search, you had to pay more. In order to get access to the category search as well, you had to pay more. And we also bundled in market intelligence. So it was Now that we have so many different apps, it would be confusing to keep that structure. But that structure was really good for us from a revenue perspective and how we set up product discovery.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense because you're going to have a churn rate, aren't you? So you market to bring people onto the system. If they're losing 2 or 3 months later, and what you're trying to build is apps that are what we call daily habits. You know,
Right.
if you've got products, you know, if you've got SaaS tools or products that people can use on a daily basis, rather ad hoc, meaning I'll find that product and I'll put it down for 3 months, they are going to end their subscription. So talk to me more about what other tools have you that you can talk about publicly in the roadmap for development, or we've mentioned 2 of the tools. Are there any other tools that you've got out there at the moment?
Yeah. So another thing that was big for our growth is we launched product discovery in November, and then we launched a keyword tool early March. And so the fact that the keyword tool and product discovery were so close, and again, there are some pretty cool concepts in keyword research where after keyword research, this helped us hit this other step in growth. And then so that was amazing. Over the summer, we spent a lot of time on a tool that we still have yet to release. But it's really kind of focused on driving keyword ranking without giveaways. So that it sucked. Anyways, it sucked spending a lot of time on something that you don't release. And I feel like it put us behind in some other areas, but ahead in some areas that we have yet to release. Anyways, then we launched some tools because customers were asking for it, not because we were super excited about it, which was good and bad. A keyword tracking tool that also tracks your sponsored ads. You can get notifications when they change and so forth, as well as a basic listing a listing builder tool that helps look at your SEO. That was in November of this year. And so, just to recap 2018 real quick, we went from about 30 employees to a little over 60. So that was a big growth year for us. And, I've learned so much in the mistakes of hiring not so good people, as well as just getting the structure in place, the team in place to get the structure in place last year.
But then, like we said about, we can't have home runs on products, and you can't get a home run on getting the right employee each time. And so the safest way of doing it is to let that employee know as early as possible. It's the horriblest thing in the world. I've had to lay off teams of like 5 or 6 people once, and I helped write their CVs and got them placed in jobs and hit my black book because I felt responsible when we closed down a startup back in 2010. It's valuable, but the worst thing you can do is what I call is the slow hand clap, because it's not fair on them because they don't know where their life's going, and it's not fair on you, and everyone becomes miserable. So what did you do to help manage that situation? It's quite delicate. You look forward to you interview and you're getting people on, and then you realize that it's not a fit for both people. It's no one's fault, but how did you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, we've hired a number of bad folks. We say at Viral Launch we have this marketing curse. We've hired 2 different marketing leaders, and neither of them have worked out. We move very quickly. So, we try to do our best job in the interview process, and every person that you hire that works out, and then that doesn't work out, they both really help you to do a better job the next time you interview, because you know what to look for. But anyways. What we do is you can usually tell within the first week that they're not a good fit, or at least you have some concern. So my whole thing is I'm always so afraid that I'm not doing a good enough job of helping you to be successful, and it's my fault actually, not yours. And so we'll sit down, we'll talk through, or this is a less formal sit down. Maybe we'll go grab coffee and we'll talk about what's going on. And it's very important that you're very honest with the individual about like what isn't working. I think Radical Candor is a great book about this, but giving that radical, very candid feedback about what isn't working. If it's still not working, maybe the next week or a couple of days later, depending on how severe the situation is, then we'll have a formal sit down and we'll say, hey, just want to like get this stuff figured out. Here's what we're not happy with, or like, here's the areas we see for improvement or where things aren't connecting, and we'll document it formally. And then if things don't change over the next week or a few days, then you'll let that person go. We always give them a severance because obviously you want to give them time to go find another job and to help them, be successful, because just because it wasn't a good fit at your company doesn't mean that they're a bad person or anything like that. It just means that, it wasn't a good fit for you. And at first it was so hard, like this probably sounds bad, but at first it was so hard letting people go. But, there's been a number of people actually that we've let go, and then they go find a job where they're so much happier and it's just a much better fit. And so it's not like you're just like ending this person's life or anything like that. You're actually giving them an opportunity to go find something that is better for them.
Yeah, short-term pain leads to long-term gain. So they can end up leaving and going on to elsewhere. So talk to me about, you obviously like to give back and pay it forward. What's your philosophy here?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, I think it's cool because I feel like at Viral Launch, we enable a lot of other people to give back. So, one of the things that kept me going in the early days was at first I felt like I was just helping rich people get richer. Because in my mind, if you had 5,000 to invest in an Amazon business, you were rich, just based on where I was coming from. And so, but there was a couple of friends of mine where we were helping them make some significant money on Amazon, and they were donating like 75% of their like profit. 25% of their profit to like these charities or whatever every month. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. And Viral Launch is helping to generate that, which was super cool. Some of my friends are most successful customers. These guys donate like millions of dollars. And, we've helped build a lot of that, which is super cool. So while we get to help entrepreneurs, like the entrepreneurs that we help go and help a lot more people than we could directly, which is so cool. Number two, within the company, I try to challenge everyone to be the best versions of themselves. So we'll have like weekly challenges or biweekly challenges. And frequently those challenges will be go volunteer for an hour every day this week or like what have you. So as a company, like, my wife and I, we like serve at our church and like we do things, but I can only do so much. I think by building an environment where in the company where people we're doing these work days where we go out and we volunteer in different groups or whatever. I think that by enabling the team to go and to serve or to donate or whatever, we're able to achieve a lot more. So we bring people in to like not interns, but these people like wanting to get into tech. We bring them in and we try to get them excited about tech, or we have like an ongoing food donation thing, or we donate a good amount of our time in the local Indianapolis community. So
yeah, it makes sense. Talk to me about networking. Does that play a big role in your business and what you're doing now?
My natural tendency is to not network and be like, I can do this all myself. So I honestly don't network very much in the indie community. And like, I live in Indianapolis, sorry. So I really wish that I did. And it's something that I aspire to. A couple of people on the team have been like our COO and president, he knows just about every executive in Indianapolis, I feel like. And so that has helped us out. The big thing for me in the Amazon community where I have networked a lot and it's really paid off is, I try to go to just about as many conferences as possible, not because I feel like I'm going to learn some crazy stuff from some of the speakers. It's not always about the speakers. It's and sometimes when you have great speakers, like you have to go to, but a lot of it is just interacting with the other sellers, just being able to rub shoulders with people. And, if you learn one tip, it pays for 3 conferences, right? And so I've spent a lot of time networking, talking in Facebook groups, just to connect with other sellers. And that has paid off like leaps and bounds because, people don't just buy what you do. They buy individuals, they buy people. And so helping people to understand that Viral Launch isn't, this company that's just trying to get as much money from you as possible. We're a company that's focused on helping people, I think has really helped us out.
Yeah. So you're a believer in what I say is you make meaning and then you'll make money.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I think I stole that off Steve Jobs somewhere along the line. But
I like it.
Outside of your friends and partners, who do you rate in the community for putting in the work in the Amazon community?
Ooh, So this is dangerous because by not naming someone, then are you saying that?
Name a few people in no particular order, and we're going to apologize ahead of the game that if anyone is forgotten, they're not intentionally forgotten. They're just,
Yeah. So coincidentally, someone that I've just, I have a lot of appreciation for, and I've been talking to a lot recently is Liron, who you just had on the podcast. I have a lot of respect. It's difficult because in the space, so many people, and you'd be surprised at some of the people that, claim to be something that they're not. And we get to see a lot of accounts because people come and they'll run launches with us, or they'll use our tools, and we get to see like the real side of a lot of gurus and just people in the space. And so like Liron, for example, I know all of his information, and he's very honest with people, and he is not someone that you has this alternative motive whenever he gets on a Facebook Live or like anything like that. So I'm going to stick with one person, and I'm going to say Liron. Outside of that, to be honest, my biggest customers aren't in any of the Facebook groups really. And I get a lot of information from those guys and a lot of great feedback from those guys, but it's not anybody that, is speaking at events. To be honest, I like the biggest sellers that I know, they don't want to share their stuff. So they don't want to go speak at some of these events. It's really about kind of like, and I think the market has moved this way more and more, is all about kind of like some of these masterminds and stuff like that. But anyways, Liron's a good guy. I'm gonna stay there, or else it's gonna get into dangerous territories.
I'm with you there. I mean, I've noticed that I've got a guy who's a friend of mine, he's close to doing 40 million a year.
Dang.
But I can never get him on the podcast. I've known him a number of years. He's like, no, he keeps underground, keeps to himself. And I think you may know him. I won't name him on the show without respect for him.
Yeah.
It's like he's got so much great knowledge there we could share, but he's not very public. He keeps himself to himself, and he just wants to put his head down and run his business. So I respect that.
Yeah.
A little fun one here. What's the worst advice you've heard given to Amazon sellers generally?
Oh man. This gets dangerous too, but number one is to use merchant words. I know that's a bit biased, but there's a lot of keyword tools out there that have better data sources than merchant words has had, and I've just seen so many people make bad decisions because of that. So I generally feel bad saying that, but also it's just true, to be honest. Number two, you would be surprised how many people still focus on this, but so many people focus more on BSR than keyword ranking. And so people want to run launches to boost their BSR, and that's not going to do anything for you. Like literally, for example, we've had people that come, they run a launch and their coupons don't work, but they get ranking because there's so many add to carts, and you shouldn't be doing this. But anyways, it's happened. And then the people are mad at us after they're ranking position number 2 for their main keyword, their target keyword, but they didn't sell any units. So their BSR didn't see this big spike. And so they're mad at us because they didn't see the BSR spike. And, my argument is actually you should be happy because you didn't sell anything. You didn't spend all that money in inventory, and you achieved the keyword ranking at the time. So
you got the visibility, and then it's down to, and once you got that visibility, it's down to the Amazon customer to make the decision: is this product worthwhile? All you're doing is putting it in the shop window. You're not there to make it stick.
Right.
You're providing the pathway for them to get there.
So, and then thirdly is I still see a lot of people teaching this. People put all their keywords into one single campaign and one ad group, and it's what your highest volume keyword is going to take all of your budget, and you're not going to have any opportunity to drive traffic through keywords that are actually going to be converting well for you. So those are my top 3, I guess.
Sounds good. Okay, jumping around a bit, I want to quickly talk about the switch from, I know that you had the late night panics that will Amazon change things about giveaways. So talk to me about the switch to a SaaS business from a service business.
Yeah, I mean, we had always looked at ourselves as a software company. I mean, setting up the launches and stuff were, almost completely automated. So we weren't really doing much there, but we also had a good piece of our revenue, which was, photography and listing optimization. And I don't know. I guess I haven't really thought about it from that perspective. It's been great when we talk to, potential acquirers or investors. The fact that we're now a SaaS business versus when we were having conversations and everyone looked at us as a service business. The difference is getting a multiple on EBITDA, a 1 to 2 to 3 times EBITDA versus 5 to 8 times top line revenue. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, that's. I guess I don't really have too much. It's not something that I've thought about that much.
But I suppose one of the things like you have considered is the valuation of a company, a service business into a SaaS business, and the multiples, like you said, are different. Where do you see yourself in 2 years as a business?
Yeah, I think that there's a huge opportunity for, like, basically the way that I kind of plan out VireLaunch, if you will, is like I see this 4 or 5 year roadmap. But I think anytime between like the next 6 months or so, I mean, even now and the 5 years, we could have a good enough offer and sell. And we've actually had a couple pretty good offers, but I'm really excited about, seeing us move further essentially. Yeah, I mean, without sharing too much, like we right now our main focus is on Amazon. I don't think that will always be our complete focus. We're focused on Amazon because almost 50% of all sales in e-commerce in the US at least is on Amazon, but Amazon continues to grow significantly as well as in other marketplaces. So, I want to be where we can help our customers. I think that we could make a bunch of noise and sell our customers things like, we could also help you on Walmart. We could also help you on, these other marketplaces. But the thing is like, this is where the sales are. And so we want to help provide the most value to you. And I think that exists on Amazon. But, one of my predictions for 2019, I think that Facebook honestly poses one of the biggest like threats to Amazon. So I could see us in the near future going and helping you sell on Facebook, maybe helping you sell on Shopify a bit more, Walmart, you name it.
Yeah, makes sense. What advice would you give to advanced sellers today? One piece of advice.
Yeah, so I mean, depending on what you're referring to as advanced, I see a lot of people get stuck in the 1 to 5 million or somewhere around the $5 million mark. And it's typically because they spend a lot of effort trying to diversify going outside of Amazon. And the people that I've really only seen one customer that's gone and really killed it in retail. I've only seen a couple people that have gone and done a really good job outside of Amazon. So like my main advice is to, you did a lot of things right to get to 5 million. Just go do that again, get to 10 million. Because far too often do people want to diversify, they want to mitigate risk, do all these things. There's definitely some ways that you can mitigate your risk on Amazon. Go set up a distributor account. For example, one of our customers, they did 36 million in 2016, and they got they got banned from selling on Amazon early 2017, and they did over 40 million in 2017 on Amazon, even though their account was banned. Yeah. Wow. So anyways, if you're around the $5 million mark, it's just to go super hard on Amazon still. It's still my advice, even though it's, it would be nice to sell well outside of Amazon. If you're a bigger seller, the 10 to 20 million or higher mark, a lot of my customers in that range and above, they did a lot of things right. And they just kept doing that thing, kept doing it until they're at the 50 million or 20 million, 50 million, 100 million mark or so. But just because you're at that level doesn't mean that everything that you are doing is best. So I would encourage that level of seller to really continue to be a student of the Amazon game and to continue to challenge your team and your processes, your systems in how you're achieving results, because there may be some better ways to get to where you want to go.
Cool. So can you complete this sentence for me? Amazon is
an amazing opportunity that's getting more difficult.
Thanks for your in-depth. That was great, Casey. Do you have a quick chance to have a final chat about Seller Sessions Live? You're coming over, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you want to give the audience a little bit of background of what you're going to be speaking about?
Yeah. So first off, really excited to be with everybody. And the main thing that I'm going to be focused on is helping you to drive keyword ranking without giveaways and with only white hat activities. We're really deep. I have a whole R&D team now. It's now 7, 8 people, depending on how you count it. And we just run a ton of tests to try to drive keyword ranking, drive sales. And the team has come up with some killer strategies around how to drive keyword ranking, no giveaways, and it's working really well right now. The thing is that like there's a point where it works really well and then it starts to work less and less or not work as well, but just because everybody starts doing it. So the opportunity is to do it now before everybody else does, and before everybody else makes it, too expensive, unprofitable, like these different things. So yeah.
Sounds good. Is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
I don't think so. This was in depth. This was cool.
Excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm sure the audience will too, and I'll get you back for the follow-up. We'll do another in-depth, but we'll put a couple of years between it, but then we can see the growth between now. I mean, you've covered an incredible amount of ground, haven't you, in the last 5 or 6 years? So, and the way that you're growing now, you never know, you might be at 120 staff this time in 2 or 3 years' time. So it'd be interesting to see how the growing pains are there. But thank you so much for coming on. Guys, thank you for joining us again, Katie. Thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Oh, one last thing I want to say before you go, check out your podcast. Where can they find Follow the Data?
So you can find Follow the Data anywhere you're listening to your podcast, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple Podcasts, you name it.
All the traditional podcatchers, so iTunes. Yep. Cool. Guys, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this one. I will see you again in the next few days. Take care.